Weight loss and nutrition, fact or fiction, the subject of today's Utah Matters, coming up next. Good morning and welcome to Utah Matters. Well, it's Sunday morning, and if you're not heading off to church or other activities right away, then maybe you found the time to put up the skillet, toss on the sausage and bacon, then some eggs and hash browns, maybe even some gravy and biscuits. Even though there's enough grease there to grease up an Abrams tank, we love it. America is one big restaurant that we can't seem to get enough of. And many say it's slowly killing us. 68% of adult Americans are obese, fat, out of shape. It's created a medical nightmare, responsible for many cases of heart disease, skyrocketing cases of diabetes and cancer. The only thing growing faster than our collective waistline are all the miracle diets, discoveries, and theories that promise to help us lose weight, lose that girth without too much effort. Well, you may be one of those who will be starting that diet tomorrow, Monday, of course. So we invite you to push yourself away from the breakfast buffet for a few minutes, because we're going to help you sort out all the fact and fiction about dieting. You know, good fats, bad fats, eating before bed, diet drinks, low-carb diets, miracle creams and injections. Our aim is to say what is truth about nutrition, and we have two experts with us who can help us along here. Dr. Larry Tucker is professor in the College of Life Sciences at Brigham Young University. He is widely published in scholarly journals and has worked extensively in the area of nutrition and weight management. Also with us is Dr. Jay Shetlin. Dr. Shetlin has had a lifelong interest in health and nutrition and has written a book entitled Solving the Health and Wealth Conundrum. He works out of South Jordan Chiropractic and is also considered an expert on autospinal injuries. Thank you both for being here. Well, I painted a pretty gloomy picture about obesity. Is it too gloomy?
I think it's accurate. In America, we've had a 50% increase in overweight and obesity since the 1980s. So just in a matter of 30 years, we've had an increase of 50%. That suggests that we have a major problem in our country.
Dr. J?
And that's going along since that start with the no-fat, low-fat diets. And so look where those are getting us. We introduced those, and that seems when this epidemic really took off.
You may know the specific numbers on this, but I read an article that said before the turn of the century, the last century, Americans averaged about the consumption of about 5 pounds of sugar a year, 6 pounds I think it was. Now we average about over 100 pounds of sugar per year per person.
Easily.
I assume that has something to do with the problem.
No doubt sugar is an element, but I think it would be oversimplifying to say it's just sugar. If you look at our dietary changes in the last 30 years, we now have microwaves. We now have a lot of pre-prepared foods that are very good to eat, very delicious. They also are high in calories. So I think a major concern is that food is readily abundant, easy to prepare, difficult to resist, and high in calories. And so overall, the energy that we consume is greater than the energy that we expend. We no longer have to work hard outside to make a living, most people. And therefore we expend relatively little energy and we consume a little bit too much probably almost every day.
We're going to go through a list of facts or fiction, myths if you will, about diet and weight loss. I'm not sure that both of you will agree on everything, but we're going to throw these out here and let you kick them around. Let's start with this one. Eating late at night causes weight gain. What you eat at night before you go to bed turns to fat. You hear that all the time.
I definitely agree with that. I think it's not healthy to eat right before we go to bed for two reasons. One, we can't digest that well when we're trying to sleep, and it interrupts our REM sleep, which is very important for healing. And two, we just don't metabolize as well. We can't get REM sleep and metabolize, so then more things usually end up going to fat. So
okay, but do the calories somehow magically stay with us more extensively than they would if we ate them at some other time of day? Dr. Tucker?
I think the real issue here is the total energy consumed. If we haven't eaten much during the day, then eating later at night is not going to be as big of a problem. The major problem with eating late is usually those are excess calories. Research would suggest that evening eating, night eating, typically takes us over to an excess number of calories because most of the time that's recreational eating.
Okay.
And recreational eating, I think, is the major concern here. We're not eating because we're hungry. We're eating because there's some great snack foods, and maybe we're watching television, we're sedentary, and we're ending up with more calories than our body can deal with. So that leads to increased weight gain.
A related question. This will get, I think, into metabolism, but you have diets, you hear a lot now about eating several times a day as opposed to the standard 3 meals a day. Eat 6 times a day, eat smaller meals. This will keep the hunger desire down and keeps your metabolism going.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to watch the calories, of course, but I'm a fan of the eating several smaller meals a day, because if you're doing those controlled, they're planned out in advance, so you're not over-consuming, then you are grazing through the day. It is keeping your metabolism a little more even keel through the day. And if you're doing that in conjunction with burning the calories with exercise and stuff, I think it's easier to balance it out and control weight or lose weight a little easier.
Okay.
Let me address one other concept there, and that is, as we eat multiple times a day, we definitely don't have a binging problem or an extreme hunger problem, and that's good. But I think one of the problems with eating many times a day is that we get in the habit of eating when we're not hungry. And when we eat, hunger is a good signal, and there's nothing wrong with being a little hungry. In fact, I think in our society, we tend not to ever get hungry. And again, if our major problem is over-consuming food and over-consuming calories, we have to be careful about eating just because it's time to eat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about a related fact or fiction. The argument goes that when you get overly hungry, you go without meals. They warn crash dieters about this. When you stop eating to lose weight fast, your body goes into starvation mode, and therefore it doesn't burn fat, but it starts to burn muscle. Fact or fiction?
Well, yeah. When you're starving, you're definitely changing the metabolism habits of your body. That's why I'm a fan of that, eating several times through the day. So you're not going feast famine with only 1 or 2 or 3 meals a day, because you don't want to put yourself into starvation mode. There are many people we know out there that I see as patients that they come in and it's like, gosh, I'm only eating 1 meal a day, and I don't know why I'm still gaining all this weight. I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm cutting back on my meals per day, and it doesn't work that way. We've got to balance the calories in and the calories that we burn. There's got to be a balancing act, and they've got to be the right kind of calories as well, but not putting yourself into a starvation mode.
But at the same time, we do not use fat as a fuel unless our glycogen levels are low. Glycogen is basically a sugar that is stored in our liver and in our muscles. And that allows us to go through the day and be active without being hungry and without becoming weak. So this is just trickled into the blood supply on a regular basis. If our glycogen levels get low, then we use fat as fuel. Otherwise, we don't use our body fat as fuel. And so we can't lose weight per se, or we can't lose our body fat percentage if we don't allow our glycogen levels to get low. So if we eat regularly and often, our glycogen levels stay up, and we won't use fat as fuel. So there has to be some period of time there where we utilize glycogen, drop it to a lower state so that we can use fat as fuel. And so I again, am not one to think that we have to eat often. That's why we have glycogen levels.
Okay. A little difference of opinion there.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, does skinny mean healthy? And is breakfast the most important meal of the day? We're going to talk about that and other things when we come back with Dr. Larry Tucker and Dr. Jay Shetlin on Utah Matters in just a moment.